first of all, welcome. So nice to see you both
Thank you.
in person. This is lovely. We're incredibly looking forward to your performance later on this month. Is it this month yet? It is, isn't it? Or is it tomorrow? No, it's tomorrow.
Almost.
This month.
And
next week, I think the clocks go forward. So so it must be better weather then. Has to be.
let's hope. Yeah.
So I've got some questions that people have been asking me. So I thought I would ask you, if that's okay. And you can tell me approximately what the answers are. So first of all, they said to me, how long have you two been playing together?
Officially or unofficially? We set our career start. Could I answer this, Jim? Is that all right?
Yeah. All right. So yes, maybe I'll direct it.
Yeah. We set our career beginning of with our first European tour, which was in January of 1976, and we ended at Wigmore Hall in London. We got our great review by Max Harrison, of all people, in the Times. And that was kind of yeah. Well, he could be prickly,
yes.
But of course he's gone on to quite a distinguished career as a musicologist as well as a music journalist.
Yes.
But anyway, we did that, but we had played before, and we got our start in April of the previous year, 1975. And I remember my daughter was 6 months old at the time and sat on Jim's lap for one of the rehearsals. But we had a series of 3 concerts that we wanted to do just for the fun of it, just to see what would happen. And Jim, if you want to pick it up from there, because Eugene was your teacher, so.
Yeah, we really, Leslie and I had met as students in Aspen, and we said, I was living in New York, Leslie was in Toronto, he was flying in for lessons, and I was living in my teacher's house, and said you could stay there if you want. So we said, why don't we do 2 piano concerts for the fun of it? And my teacher, Eugene List, arranged for a concert at Eastman. I arranged for one in a penthouse on Park Avenue in New York, and Leslie did one at the conservatory. And we really, as we sat down and played, we realized we had a real chemistry playing together. It was just an accident. We were going to do this for the fun of it, but the minute we really started playing, we just instantly clicked. So, and a lot of people told us that, and we sort of knew it. Yes. So we almost got catapulted into it and found ourselves in Wigmore Hall not too long afterwards. I still remember being backstage going, woo, this was their picture Rudolph Strachan up there on the wall.
Yeah, and Rubinstein, he did his final concert. Of course, that was later. But what I remember about that concert at Eastman was that was the pivotal moment for us, I think, because Eugene List took us to his house, and that was through a reception, and he brought us to his studio in his house, and he said, "You guys have to do this professionally." And of course, we responded quite intelligently by saying, "Huh?" I mean, it was like it was the last thing we thought we were going to do. Except when he said it, I think we both had the same reaction, which was, yeah. Because when, as Jim said, when we played together, it just clicked. I mean, we'd played with other people before who were fabulous musicians.
Yes.
But that chemistry, as Jim was saying, is almost dumb luck, because it's something that happens or it doesn't. And
what I'm wondering is, and who can I ask this to, either of you, is it's never easy for musicians unless they are string or woodwind. To go sort of from place to place and find a decent piano. You have to go from place to place and find 2 decent pianos. Mm-hmm. How hard has that been for you?
Well, yeah. Well, until 1981, it was impossible. I mean, we basically played big centers, but you're talking like 4 or 5 concerts a year. Mm-hmm. And then we went to 50 to 70 concerts a year very quickly the year after, because Mr. List organized, actually the conservatory organized what was called a monster concert, in Massey Hall, which was a concert of 10 pianos. And that's what kind of thing that Eugene used to do, because he was an exponent of the music of Gottschalk, who used to do that in the 19th century. Anyway, we did that in the Yamaha. President was there from Japan, and Jim, you tell this story because you're the one that actually spoke to the person.
Yamaha sponsored the concert, so for them this was a big deal because they were really just about to invest a lot of money in really elevating the quality of their instruments. So they had all the brass from Japan, USA, and Canada were in the balcony of Massey Hall. And Eugene had asked us to do a two-piano solo thing in the middle. He would play a solo and we would do a two-piano thing. So we did, and after the concert, I remember someone from St. Catharines meeting me and saying, we'd like you to play in St. Catharines this summer. And I said, great, what do we do about pianos? And she said, well, Yamaha's providing you with pianos. And I said, really? Who told you that? And she said, that guy over there. And I went and spoke to this man, and he said to me, well, we like your playing. We talked at intermission, and we want to tell you that any place you want to play in North America, we will provide you with pianos. And overnight, we became Have Pianos Will Travel.
Wow, that literally very, very convenient.
It was quite incredible.
Yeah, without that, you can't do it. I mean, because as you were hinting, string players, they bring their own instruments, and they don't have to worry about that.
They don't have to worry, but pianos are always a problem.
Yeah.
Because as a soloist, you end up playing the most awful pianos in some places because there's
we remember.
Well, also for North America, it was fantastic, but we went to China 4 times in early 2000s and onward, and then you're really you're playing whatever pianos exist in the center, and then you're really dealing with what soloists deal with. Only it's more difficult because there's 2. Sometimes the pianos were really good. Sometimes the pianos were really not.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
That's just life, and you deal with it, right?
Absolutely, of course. Yeah. Well, you haven't asked us about the pianos in Ancaster, but I can tell you that we have 2 very nice pianos, probably 3 very nice pianos, but what we're planning on for you is a beautiful Bosendorfer with an extra octave, which is gorgeous, which was donated to the theatre when we opened. And then an older but very nice Steinway. My sister Valerie always, she's a Steinway artist, so she always says there's a ghost in the Steinway, which she doesn't find anywhere else. So it's a very nice, we do have a Yamaha there too, but our tuner who we worship, who's wonderful, says he thinks the balance between the Steinway and the Bosendorfer is actually better than with the Bosendorfer and the Yamaha. So I don't know how you feel about that, but hopefully you'll be happy with it.
Yeah, it's the most important thing is that ahead of time we know which one's brighter and which one's not.
Yes.
Because depending on the repertoire we play, because we switch around. I play first in some things, and Jim plays first in other things, and often it doesn't make a difference. But for instance, in the Mozart that we're playing, it does make a difference because I'm playing first part, and I have to have the bright piano for that because it's always on top.
So that would be the Bosendorfer then, Leslie. That would be the Bosendorfer.
It's brighter than the Steinway?
The Bosendorfer is slightly brighter.
We'll try it out. Yeah, we'll try it out when we get there.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and then the lid. Sorry, go ahead, Jim.
I was just going to say, Jackie, have you done 2 pianos in with your instruments in the hall in Ancaster?
No, because how many times are there wonderful people playing pianos? No, absolutely. We've had all sorts of people playing. Harry's played there, but also we've had various ensembles who have used the Bosendorfer,
right,
and the Yamaha, but as of now, not the Steinway, which is lovely, but an older piano. I don't think you'll have a problem. If it turns out that you have, then we'll have to move in the Yamaha, but I don't think that you will. I think that you'll be very happy. And I think because we have such a wonderful tuner, he's going to adjust it so that certainly the Bosendorfer will be brighter, but they'll match very nicely, I think. So
we'll make it work. That sounds great.
We'll make it work. Yeah. Listen, after playing in Macau, we can play on anything. When we played Macau in 1991, was it, Jim, or 90? I think it was. But we took the hovercraft over from Hong Kong when we just played City Hall, which is this wonderful venue and great pianos, and the people in Macau were amazing. They were great, but we were in a kind of office building that was still under construction, and they had two pianos, one of which was a baby grand, 4'8", and the other was a no-name 9-foot. And all I remember is Jim saying, "Listen, at the end of the Gershwin, I don't want you getting mad at me," because he had the big piano. He says, "I'm just going to wail at it," and I said, "That's okay." So I was playing, and I might as well have been Marcel Marceau. I mean, it was just, I had no idea what was coming up. Anyway, so if we could, and we made it work. They loved it. So if we could make those work, I'm sure these pianos are wonderful. So we're not.
Yeah, and actually, the piano thing was Macau was quite effective because I really did hold back until the end. So they really hadn't heard that much sound until the last 2 pages. I mean,
then you went for it.
Yeah, but it was not ideal circumstances. I'm sure yours will be great. We'll figure out the balance and all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Between you, do you ever argue about who's playing first, or is it always just sort of
never
happy?
We don't care. One of the things, though, is that a lot of people don't realize this because we always sit at the same pianos. So I'm always on, I guess it'd be stage left, which is the right-hand side to the audience.
Yes.
I always sit on that piano with the lid off. Okay, it's just because we got used to making the sound that way. So even if I'm playing first part or second part, doesn't matter. We don't change pianos. The only time we ever change pianos is when we're doing a concerto, because then the conductor, they'll turn this way because they're going to cue piano 1 or something, and if it's backwards, it can cause problems. But otherwise, we always, yeah. Go ahead, Jim.
The other thing, Jackie, is that in most duo repertoire, it's 1 and 2, but it really isn't piano 1 and piano 2.
No.
It really is duo repertoire. So what we have most often done is we read the parts before we decide who's going to play what. Because we are different players. I think it's the strength of the duo is we each bring something different, even though we have this chemistry. So we read and we almost invariably know which part we really want to play. So we really have never had a problem.
We hadn't had a problem with that. No. So how many? I'm not knowledgeable about this at all, and obviously some other people are not either. But how much music is there for 2 pianos?
Oh my. That's a great question, because I mean, obviously there are bibliographies written about this, but I mean, just to give you an indication, that I think the Hinson book, which I don't like very much, but it does list the works. He lists, what is it, Jim, like 50 concertos for 2 pianos and orchestra.
Really?
Now, if you use that's concertos, so you can take that as a proportion. I mean, what's the proportion of solo concertos to the solo repertoire? It's about the same. And even if half, like only 30 of the concertos are really worth playing, but I think there's more than that. That's an enormous number of concertos.
Yes,
I mean, more than we can. Yeah. And we're talking about, of course, the Mozart is the pinnacle and the Poulenc. For us, but there's also the Martineau concerto. There's all kinds of concertos, piece by Britten. Really, it's just wonderful repertoire. And there's more than we'll ever play of the solo of the 2 repertoire. Go ahead, Jim.
Are there any people sort of nowadays writing for 2 pianos?
Sure. We've commissioned a number of pieces. There's a lot of people playing, but in addition to what Leslie said, the bottom line is there's much more than one would think for 2 pianos, and there are interesting works that don't get played. There's certainly not the wealth of repertoire for solo piano, but there's great works by great composers for sure, and that really is what keeps you interested. And there are works that don't get played. For instance, Stravinsky wrote Dumbarton Oaks Concerto for one of his greatest pieces. He wrote a 2 piano version, which we stumbled on in the music band in Paddlesons, and we ended up doing a North American premiere only because people didn't know it existed. And the players who have heard us do it, and we on recording or in live, have said, and in some ways it works even better on two pianos than it does in the orchestrated version. So there's tons of work, certainly enough to keep you engaged and interested.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and following up from that, if you get into the four-hand repertoire, there's tons of it. And by the way, we always do it on one piano. We don't do it on two pianos. There are reasons why that's a bad idea. It doesn't balance properly. Like if you do Schubert, for instance, in our opinion. Okay, I'm sure there's magnificent performances on two pianos of Schubert, but it really shouldn't be, because it's written, one side is the bass, the other side is it's not. Yeah, but anyway, I was going to say that the big discovery for us was the Miraculous Mandarin by Bartók, because nobody knew that existed, and he wrote it for four hands 3 years before he orchestrated it. Mm-hmm. And the only we knew it was the North American premiere. We organized the Bartók Festival in 1981, which is the centennial of Bartók, and we did the sonata for two pianos percussion. We did the Miraculous Mandarin on it, the four-hand version. And we knew nobody had ever played it in North America. And unfortunately, we couldn't put it on the program because we found out a year later that nobody had ever played it, period. Bartók had done it for Budapest Radio, a recording, but it was not in front of an audience. So what we did was actually the world premiere, and we didn't know it at the time. Yeah, but there's a lot of stuff like that.
Do you actually research it, or does it just suddenly come up? Do people send it to you, or...
Both.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think, following up from what Jim said, that every great composer has at least one piece, either for piano duet or for two pianos, that is one of their greatest works, not just a great two piano work. Yes. I mean, Brahms, you've got the Haydn variations, which is the original version of it. Same with the two piano sonata, which is the original version of the piano quintet. Beethoven wrote enough for a CD. I guess CDs don't exist anymore, but yeah. Yes. And they're wonderful. I mean, the first sonata, Opus 6, QWERTY said that really there's 33 Beethoven sonatas, because the duet sonata should be the 33rd one. But more to the point, Beethoven himself transcribed the Grosse Fuge for piano duet himself, and did a lot of major rewriting in it, and turned it into probably the most difficult, would you say, Jim, the most difficult four-hand thing we've ever done?
Yeah, I think it's extremely difficult. We're going to play in Ancaster, Jackie. We're playing two Slavonic dances, and CBC hired us on the recording to do all 16 Slavonics, and they're fantastic pieces. I've actually, Felicity and I have both taught them, but when we were hired to record them, we played them and toured with them, and we always include some four-hand on our program, so we'll do a couple of Slavonics in the concert in Ancaster. We're looking forward to that.
That's fantastic. Well, this is so exciting for us. I hope that you two will do a lot of talking from the stage too, because I know that's your. Everyone who's seen you says, "Oh, they're so wonderful. They're so attractive to the audience," and this is what we're hoping for as well, because our audiences love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah, we love doing that.
Yeah. That's fantastic. You obviously haven't seen the hall, Pella Hall, but we're very thrilled to have this theatre in Ancaster. It's a beautiful hall, really beautiful. It's about 454 seats.
Great.
Very comfortable, very lovely, nice stage. I think that you'll be very happy there, but we have a great sound engineer who comes with the theatre, who will see you whenever you decide to come and do that in the afternoon. So
that's great. I actually went on the website of the hall last night, and it looks really, really beautiful.
It is really beautiful. Yes. There's nothing I can complain about, except that there isn't a pit. Which is, there should have been a pit, but when it was designed, they didn't do it properly. So there is now no pit. So if we have to have a pit, then we'll have to take out a couple of the seating in the front, which we don't really want to have to do. But we've done things there, and we have a local orchestra. It's actually quite good. Sinfonia Ancaster. They're not the usual community orchestra because it's full of musicians from the Hamilton Philharmonic and the sort of the 401 group. So it's a very, very nice orchestra, and they play on the stage, and whatever they're doing, they play on the stage. So
that's great.
Oh, wonderful.
That's wonderful.
we're very fortunate.
I'm excited about playing there. That sounds great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's wonderful. We're really looking forward to it. Is there anything that I can offer you or tell you about that you need to know before you come?
Just tell us it won't snow on the 27th.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I don't seem to have had a lot of success with that.
Well, you know, I always joke with my students. They thought it was a hoot that there should, besides Wyerton Willie, there should be somebody named Bonnie the Bear. And if Wyerton Willie sees a shadow, the bear should eat him, because that's exactly what's happened. You know Wyerton Willie, Jim?
Yeah.
You see the shadow. It means that there's going to snow for the next. Anyway, yeah.
All right, so
we're getting out of it now. So.
The only question I have to ask you very quickly at the end is, everyone says, how on earth is it that Leslie's a prof at Western, and Jim is Dean of Glen Gould? How do you fit it all in?
Well, let's go ahead, Jim. Yeah,
we played a lot of years, so we've played a lot of concerts and a lot of music. So we don't do, as Leslie was saying, there came a point we didn't want to be doing the 50, 60 concerts a year. I mean, things evolved naturally. So last summer we did a couple of festivals that we know well, Elora and Festival of the Sound. We just fit it in, find time to rehearse. And I actually, frankly, and I know Leslie, as a dean with all the administrative work, I mean, I love being able to get to the piano. And even though it's hard to squeeze the time in, I just love doing that. And we don't, we're not that far away in terms of rehearsing, so we make it work.
Good. And we each love the aspects of our job that are the non-performing thing. I mean, Jim's so good as dean. I mean, he's really transformed that school. Mm-hmm. And I feel I'm an academic. I mean, I have a PhD. It's not a performance doctorate. I love the research side of it. So being a prof is a perfect fit for me. So I think we just, and as Jim said, I don't think we'd change anything. If we did it over again, we still do the 50, 60 concerts a year for all those years.
Yeah.
But you get to the point where you don't want to do it anymore.
No, so you're picking and choosing what you do.
That's right.
So we're very fortunate that you've agreed to do Ancaster, and if you like it, maybe you'll come back to us again.
That's great.
Yeah, we'd love to. I don't live very far away.
That's terrific. Thank you so much, both of you. We are so looking forward to seeing you. And do please get in touch if you think of anything else that I should be doing before you arrive. But just let me know what time you're coming on the day, and I'll make sure that I'm there to greet you, and we'll make sure that you will get set up in every way that you would like.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Jackie. Pleasure meeting you online. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person, and really looking forward to the concert.
Terrific.
Good to see you, Jackie. Yep.
Thank you so much, Jim. Okay. Thank you, Leslie. Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.